First of all, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Um, I'm aware that you're currently competing in the Pro Cheer League. So speak about that for a bit and yeah, how's it going?
It's been great. We actually compete again tonight, and this will be the second competition I've attended of the season. My specialty in the Pro Cheer League is I'm like a specialty flyer. So in all of the games we do, I'm the one that does the hang time for the biggest basket. I do co-ed endurance for the most QP popovers in 45 seconds, and then I do the co-ed big trick, which is basically the hardest skills possible that you can do in 30 seconds. And then I also participate in the quarter one team routine.
Yeah, well, it's I've seen your stuff and obviously it was amazing to have you a part of my film because you're such a popular person. I think that's because you're always pushing yourself and some of the stuff that you're doing is just amazing. And how fun is it to create your own routines, or how much creative freedom do you have to come up with it?
It's super duper fun actually. I love the pro cheerleading and what it's been offering the cheer industry because in college right now, they have a ceiling on what we're allowed to do. We're not allowed to do certain tricks and we can't really push the boundaries in college up to an extent. And with Pro Cheer League, I mean, we still have a little bit of a ceiling, but they've drastically raised it a lot. And I think it's like the next big evolution that we've seen in the cheer industry, and it's growing like astronomically fast. And as far as like the individual games, I have complete creative freedom with the big trick. That is kind of like it's not really a mini partner stunt routine. It's more just like you have five elements that you can do, and it can be any five elements. So you get to push as much as you want there. And then with the basket, they tell you what the basket is ahead of time so you can train it. And then with the co-ed endurance, it's really just the amount that you can do. So like when you're practicing, you obviously want to get as many as you possibly can for popping back and forth. And the team routine, they change choreography slightly every time just so it doesn't get boring for the crowd and for the rest of the judges. But as far as the basket that I do in the routine, I change that every time. And then the skill that me and Josh do when like the whole team kind of ducks down and choreography, we change that every time as well.
Cool. I mean, there must be obviously the rewards are massive, but the risks are injuries, aren't they? And I'm sure that you've had a few injuries.
Yes.
Um, the injury in the film that we went for was an ACL injury. I was just
hmm
wondering what your biggest setback was and what did you do to overcome that?
So I've had two. I did gymnastics for 16 years prior to cheer. So the biggest injury I think I've ever had in my life was when I broke my neck and my back in gymnastics. And I had a fall off the high bar and I partially tore ligaments in my neck too. And then I also had a grade three concussion and was out of school for 3 months and out of sports for 6 months. So I had like memory loss. I had to relearn how to read and do math. Like it was a really bad injury. And that was definitely my biggest setback athletically so far. But one thing that's funny about me is I feel like I pushed myself so hard that, my body's always kind of falling apart. So when injuries do happen, I typically do come back better because I can finally heal all the other little injuries I've had. And it ends up being for the best, even though it's really hard at the time to not, participate. But I will say for cheer, I think the biggest injury that I've had has been my shoulder. And this has been an injury that's kind of affected me for the last 3.5 years. But I have a torn labrum and a torn IGL ligament in my shoulder. I'm actually getting surgery to repair it in May, but I've been pushing through it the last 3 years to try to get through college season because the surgery, it's a 6 to 9 month recovery. So I would have missed an entire cheer season. So I've kind of just been trying to get through my last year of college eligibility and then get it taken care of.
Yeah, and you speak about like the physical side of it, the mental side of it to push through as well. I heard a story that you found out that you were being cheated on just before Daytona, and I just wanted to
Yeah.
first of all ask because I always hear Daytona. Like, what's the
Yes.
significance of that in cheerleading? Is that what's the importance of it to a cheerleader?
Daytona for college is the only competition we do. So, and we're like a year-round sport. So we train from literally May when tryouts happen all the way till the first week of April where we compete, and we only compete one time. So the stakes are on, you invest your entire year into a 2 minute, 30-second routine, and you for sure get to do it twice. So day one and day two, which is prelims finals, and then if you win finals, you get to advance to the grand championship, which is day three. And then on day three, when we're done with the team routine, we do partners time. So we can beat 4 times total, hopefully, in that period of that 1 week. And typically, it's just the most exhausting and mentally draining experience
Yeah.
and physically draining experience you can go through. But it's also the most fun. And like, we just get so excited at that point to show everyone how hard we've been working. And I will say, like, your mindset definitely has to be right because it's not like other sports where you get, multiple preseason games, actual games, multiple different locations. Like, the pressure's on, you get one chance.
Yeah, you said about you've cheerleaded in the NBA, and
Mhm.
you said Michael Jordan was one of your inspirations.
Yes.
What's the reason for that?
I like his mindset a lot. And I think pretty much him and Kobe Bryant and then like Nick Saban. Those are my big three for just kind of why I do what I do. I would say is kind of similar to why they do what they do. And it's really just about being relentless in the pursuit of greatness. And I feel like a lot of times people feel like they can't talk about like being great in what they do. And at Weber, like that's kind of what Weber State's motto is great, 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 and
Yeah,
there's so many people in life that can be good at things, but very few are truly great at what they do. And I also think it's about giving back to the people that are coming up, the youth of the industry. I always grew up having a lot of leaders I looked up to, and it was always my goal to one day to be someone that could inspire them and be someone that they could really like use to help fast track their process to getting to where they want to get.
yeah, I think it's a mindset thing, isn't it? And obviously you received that terrible news before Daytona, you still push through.
Hmm.
For me, it's like I get nervous thinking about just going on the stage,
Yeah.
and so obviously to hear that as well and to push through. So when we talk about like the goats, and you might say Michael Jordan's the goat,
Hmm.
Ronaldo's the goat, Messi's the goat,
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali. How far away are we from maybe saying a cheerleader in that conversation?
Would I say a cheerleader is? What do
Yeah.
you mean?
Do you think one day we can get to a point where when people are discussing the goats of sport,
Oh,
we can
yeah,
have a
that they
cheerleader a
include
part of that
cheer.
convo?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think cheerleaders, even now, are some of the most relentless athletes that you're going to come across. Like we're practicing more hours than most Olympic athletes. And I don't think people realize that. Like right now, I mean, me and my stunt partner, Josh, we're on 4 different teams. So we're doing upwards of 25 to 30 hours of practice a week. And that's encompassing pretty much our entire lives outside of being like a student athlete because we're in college too, pursuing our degrees. So I definitely think that cheerleaders can be a part of that conversation. There's just degrees to cheering, in my opinion. You have game day cheer where you're more of an accessory to football or basketball, and then
Yeah,
you have competitive cheer, which is like all star, which I would definitely group into what the high caliber athletes of the sport. And then you have Team USA or US national team athletes, which are the pinnacle of the sport. And then now we have Pro Cheer League, and then we have NBA stunt teams, like, and then really prestigious collegiate teams. So, I mean, there really are like a lot of high caliber athletes in the industry that I don't think people really know of mainstream. And I think that there's a lot of people that could easily be held in comparison to those goats of other sports.
do you have a name?
Yeah, Colin, my
Colin.
stunt partner. Yeah, Josh, my stunt partner.
When I
Caitlin
watched the
Wolfpack.
Sorry, when I watched the Netflix cheer series,
Hmm.
Gabby Butler, I think, was the person they look up to.
Yeah,
Is she up there as well?
I would say she is the most famous cheerleader of our entire industry, and
Yeah.
the impact that she's had culturally, socially, and just the even just like getting mainstream people to like know and understand our sport. I think that she is definitely like one of the biggest influences that we've ever had in the industry, and she will continue to be the most famous cheerleader of all time. She's actually one of my really good friends. She's on Miami Metal with me currently, and she just really does a lot for our industry, and she's always trying to help kind of push the idea, I guess, and the stereotype that people see cheerleaders as. And I
Yeah.
definitely think, as far as her impact that she's had in the sport, she would easily be up there with in that conversation. And she's also been on like so many different teams. She's really made like her personal mark in the industry just everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you speak about like different teams and partners as well. You touched on a bit. My
Yes.
light's just gone off. So you spoke about different teams and your partners as well.
Yes.
How easy is it to adapt to different partners? Because my understanding is like you move to a different team, you make like a step up, but you have to change partner, don't you? How easy is it to kind of adapt?
I would say it depends on the skill level that you're at. For some people, it's extremely difficult. But growing up in the way that I did, I guess, just with gymnastics and with, I guess, cheer now in college, I've always tried to be kind of a sponge and just absorb as much information as possible. And I only started like truly co-ed studying consistently about 4.5 years ago. So I had to go above and beyond, just to catch up to the people who have been in the cheer industry their whole life. And I always was down to stunt, like whether it was with someone that was brand new or the best of the best. And I felt like I was constantly intaking different techniques and different styles and ways of doing skills from all these different people. Now I would say I can pretty much switch instantly to stunt partners. But I mean, 3 years ago, I really needed to take some time to get the timing of the person I was stunting with. And I always say that like you can be good at stunting by like being able to do skills on other people, but you can be great at stunting when you can change your technique and adapt to the person that you're with.
Yeah, yeah. There's obviously so many people that want to get to the top, and I guess it's always changing, isn't it? And
Yes.
um, you said about kind of it being a supporting sport, so it's
Mhm.
like my first introduction was probably like a high school musical thing where it's kind of on the basketball games, it's on the football
Yeah.
games in America. And you're saying how important it is to be seen as now like this is actually the main event.
Yes.
Yeah, how cool is that? First of all,
I think it's awesome. I really like seeing I guess, just the societal and cultural impact of the last 5 years. Like when I started cheer, that was the first year that the Netflix show had come out. And that was really the first time what we do had really been seen mainstream anywhere. Like
hmm.
people that didn't do cheer started to like be like, why are they throwing girls in the air? Like they started asking these questions. And now we have Pro Cheer League 5 years later, and there's sports betting going on. And in my personal opinion, I think like sports betting is one of the main components to getting people interested in sports, because unless you're really an athlete performing in it, you're not going to have much investment in it unless there's money behind, right? So a lot
Yeah,
of times hearing that people are starting to sports bet now on us in the Pro Cheer League, it's, to me, that's like a big deal business wise and economically. Just it's going to get more people involved, and it's going to be get more people caring about what we do. And I really like the production of even Cheer Live from 2 years ago. It was like a concert, and you got to pay to watch all of this professional cheerleading happen. And just seeing the amount of people willing to pay, like we sold out Atlanta. That was easily one of the biggest competitions I've performed at in my life, and it wasn't even like a competition against really other teams for one routine. It was like it really was set up like a basketball game. Like there's quarters, there's a point system, exactly where you rank after each quarter. And I think that that's kind of what we've been missing, because that's like a sports relationship that people are familiar with in mainstream, and they can relate to that.
that's really cool to hear. And what are your thoughts on, because a lot of people in the UK, they look at like America and they think if they're a cheerleader, they think like if only I was there because it's so big there. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the UK? Have you ever been, and what the cheer scene's like over here?
Yeah, we actually have a couple of cheerleaders on Weber State from the UK, so we know that the cheer in UK is kind of awesome. There's a team up there, I think, called Unity All Stars Black. Am I correct? And a couple of my teammates cheer for that team for Worlds occasionally if they need fill-ins and stuff, or if people get injured. So I know the UK has like a pretty big cheerleading scene. I've never been. I'm hoping to go up there soon. I travel in Europe all the time over the summer, and I'm branching off to Asia this summer, and I branched to South America last summer. So I'm trying to make my way around the globe truly just to try to help continue to elevate our sport. So I would love to
Yeah,
come.
that's another thing as well. Like if you can make it worldwide, which it definitely is, then yeah, that's another thing. And basically, like, how what would you say to people like me? What advice would you say to like how we can help? Like we want to grow the sport. How
Yeah.
can we help?
I would say reaching out to your International Olympic Committee representative. Like in my opinion, the best way that's going to really like progress this sport and truly advance us to the next level is getting us in the Olympics and it being truly seen and respected as a sport. Because unfortunately, right now, what's happening is when we're trying to make money, there isn't really a industry that's set up to benefit the athletes currently. It's mainly benefiting the administration and the people behind the industry, right? And the Pro Cheer League is the first thing we've even had to pay cheerleading ever. And even on the U.S. national team, we're paying what like about $1,500 plus a year just to cheer on that team, and then you're paying $130 just to try out, and you might not even make it. So there's like all this money that's flowing into the sport, but it's not being distributed back to the athletes. So I think with us being in the Olympics, that's going to be a very, very good first step, and then brand deals and sponsorships is really the only other way that athletes like me are making money currently. But when you're trying to go after those big brands like Nike, they're not really looking at cheerleaders, they're looking at Olympic athletes to sponsor. So that's kind of where we've been lacking in the area. It's like the competition for our sports niches with people like Michael Jordan and Simone Biles. It's not really with people even like Gabby Butler right now or me because we're not in an Olympic sport.
Yeah, and it's great to be in the Olympics for 2032. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, you'll be 29 years old. How
Yes.
excited are you for that? And I think 29 would be like in your peak performance, I think.
Absolutely, I hope so. We haven't been approved yet for 2032. That's just the next upcoming Olympic cycle that we're hoping to get administered into. In 2028, that one will be in LA, and they already said no to us. So 2032 will be in Australia. So I'm really hoping that at some point this summer, I can go up to Australia to talk to their IOC rep. In America, it's a little bit complicated about the relationship with our IOC rep and then their relationship to the industry. So I feel like what y'all can do, in the UK is figure out who your rep is, go and talk to them about the impact that cheerleading is having worldwide and the amount of people that truly are doing it in the world and the amount of countries. Like just at ICU alone last year, there was like over 100 countries there. And I'm like, that alone shows that we need to be at the Olympics at this point.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's growing over here. And at 29 years old, if you do get into the Olympics, is that like, is there a certain age where you start to see people maybe this is coming to maybe the end because it's
Mhm.
a lot of injuries in the sport.
Yes.
Um, you basically what? How long does a career go on for?
So it
At the top
depends what,
level.
yeah, it depends what your specialty is in the sport. I would say stunters can last a lot longer in the industry than tumblers just because your ligaments, joints, bones, they deteriorate a lot faster on dead mat. And when you're at the highest level, that's typically all you're on is dead mat, which is concrete with a 1 inch mat rolled over it. At Pro Cheer, we actually do have a spring floor, so I could see a lot of the athletes lasting 10 more years, on that spring floor compared to the dead mat tumbling. And even in gymnastics, they tumble in spring floor and they are 26, 28, 30. In cheer at Weber State, we have the oldest member on our team, I think, is 34. So we have athletes that are 34. The oldest boy we've ever had was 37. The oldest female we've ever had was 30 flat. And then we have people as young as 18 on our team too. So the age really fluctuates. And I would say that for me personally, I'm a stumbler. So I stunt and tumble. And I could see myself doing both for probably another 8 years, I could say. And I feel like it just depends, the prehab you're doing. How are you taking care of your body? Are you sleeping? Are you recovering? Are you eating? Are you out partying? Like all that kind of stuff really does take a toll on your body and the like what it's able to do for you.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, like the lifestyle. Do you have a particular diet, supplements, or anything like that that you can give us insight into?
Yes, I take a lot of supplements every day. I'm taking carnitine, arginine, COX-10, glutamine, magnesium, zinc, vitamin D, ashwagandha. I take a lot of different supplements depending on like what I need them for at that moment.
Hmm.
Um, and if I'm like really sore, if I'm coming back from an injury, if I'm having a lot of anxiety and stress, my body's been hurting, it really just depends like where I'm at in the season and what I am lacking in as far as intake for nutrients and vitamins. I also get an IV done 1 to 2 times a month. And in that IV, I get Toradol and a lot of other supplements and vitamins and pretty much just anything I'm lacking in my diet, I try to get in that IV bag. I also get dry needled once a week. So on muscles that are hurting or tight or injuries like my shoulder, my ankle, I'm getting dry needled once a week. I'm also doing physical therapy 2 to 3 times a week on my shoulder and my ankles. As far as diet goes, I'm allergic to gluten, so I already kind of have a hard time finding stuff to eat. But I try to take a lot of fruits, because they're kind of fast carbs and they are healthy for you, but also high in sugar for athletes, which is kind of what we need. And then I try to eat slash drink anywhere from 40 to 50 grams of protein a day. I also, at the same time, try to not be super cautious about what I eat because just in the cheer industry, being a flyer, it's really easy to care a little too much about how much you weigh. So I would say that I try to just eat when I'm hungry and then make sure whatever I am putting into my body, it's benefiting me.
Yeah, you are 4'11", aren't you?
For 8,
4'8".
yes.
Oh wow. So yeah, I know you burn a lot of calories, and you have to um, definitely make sure that you're getting stuff there because you're always moving and everything.
Yes.
Um, but how important is your faith? Because you can probably put all the care into the diet and the exercise, but you're
Yeah.
quite religious, aren't you? And how important is that
Yes.
to you?
So I don't know if religious is the right word because I don't really identify with any specific religious group. I grew up Christian though, and I would definitely say like I'm still probably what you would consider a Christian, but I don't go to church. It's not even like I don't. It's not like I don't want to go to church. It's just doing the profession I do. I'm gone all the time. I don't think I've been home on a Sunday in over 7 months. So it's really I don't have time to go to church. So I always try to keep as close of a relationship to God as I possibly can and just make sure that like all the benefits and the blessings he's given me that I'm able to give back to him. And I always every time I pray, I always just try to make it known that everything I do is for God and for spreading the word because even if you're not religious, I don't think there's any harm in having a moral compass and any harm in having faith in a higher power, because at the end of the day, when this life is over, like it's like what's next. So I think that that's always something that brings me comfort is knowing that anything I do is for a greater good. And I don't think there's any harm in having hope. And I think hope is kind of something that everyone from all over the world can relate to is when you're at the lowest lows of your life and you don't feel like you have anyone else to lean on, at least for sure there's always one person that has their best interest in you.
Yeah, and you say that you moved from the valley to Weber was a big change in environment for you. How important
Yes.
is being in the right environment? Because I'm thinking there might be people listening where they might feel they're not in the right place, or their talents are being like wasted or something.
Yeah.
How important is it to you to be in the right environment, and what does
They
the right
always
environment look like?
Yeah, they always say like the 5 people that you surround yourself with most are the people you become like. And I always try to surround myself with people older than me, more educated than me, more experienced than me, because then I'm always intaking information and learning new. And then I always like to surround myself with two other people that I see potential in that could make their way up to the top as well. And I always try to be that influential figure for them in a positive way and just try to be a role model as best as I can, while also still being a sponge and willing, to take in information from other people. I think that the five most important people in your life like really do make a difference in where you go. And if you're surrounding yourself with people that are partying, you're probably going to become a party animal. If you're surrounding yourself with millionaires that are doing the best in their industry, you're probably going to become the best in your industry. And it really is just how that works. And going from Texas to Utah was a very big culture shock. And kind of going back to religion, the LDS culture here is very big, and that's been a really interesting environment for me to be around. Is the Church of Latter-day Saints. I've learned a lot being in Utah. This is like a very big hub for that religion. And going in Texas, we didn't really have people that really resonated with that religion as much. It just wasn't as big socially there. And I think that that was one of the biggest culture shocks I've experienced. And then also just the team I was on in Texas, like it was very diverse. People from all over the world, from all different backgrounds, upbringings, and cultures were at Trinity Valley. And then at Utah, I would say that it's pretty much everyone is born and raised in Utah. There's a couple of us that came from those schools in Texas, but there's a lot of people that came from Utah that stayed in Utah, and I would say I think it's super important to surround yourself with people from all different parts of life and upbringings because it shows you that kind of just that you need to be able to get along and you need to be able to understand people that didn't grow up the same way as you because in life like that's all that life is about is being able to connect with people who aren't like you.
Yeah, it's really great advice, and I listen to all of the podcasts that you do, and there's always some great advice in there, and always like a quote that people can really learn from, and it just made me think like, do you coach? I know that you're performing right now, but do you coach like younger athletes?
I do. I actually have a mentorship business called Alpha, and that mentorship business is all about kind of helping athletes excel at the level that they want at regardless of their age. And the youngest girl that I talk to is 6, and then the oldest is 15. And I have about 9 athletes that I talk with weekly on the phone and mentor. And then I have a lot of mentors as well that work for my company that also continue to spread their knowledge to the youth as well. Also, when I'm traveling over the world every summer, I'm kind of trying to mentor and mental coach as well as physically coach. And I always make sure to just make myself available. Even with you reaching out to me, I try to make sure that I'm responsive to people and always able to give feedback where they need it.
Yeah, it seems like you're a great ambassador for the sport and kind of like a spokesperson as well for the sport in a way.
Thank you.
Where like you're definitely your presence will definitely get more eyes onto the sport, and even people like gymnasts as well that kind of like can look at you and see your journey and from gymnastics to cheerleading. What was the change there, and why did you stick to cheerleading instead of because you started with gymnastics?
Yeah, so with gymnastics, kind of like I was telling you, I just had a lot of injuries, and the town I came from was very small. Like, it was not a prestigious gymnastics or cheer location, like, at all. There was no coaching really beyond level 8. So I got to level 9, and all the skills I was learning was literally me teaching myself, and I was just kind of yeeting myself. I didn't have fear. I still don't really have fear. For me, cheer is almost a little bit less scary because at least there's people there that are supposed to catch me, and in gymnastics, there's no one there to catch you if you fall. So that transition for me was kind of, it was more based on in gymnastics, the way that the sport is now. If you're not on the U.S. national team by the time you're 14, you're probably not going into the Olympics and even college now, like colleges are filled with past Olympians. So the gymnastics industry is just super duper like competitive, and you have to be in a big city where access to coaching at that level is available, and I just wasn't. I came from San Angelo, Texas. We had a very good high school team, and the USAG teams there, the highest they went up to was like a level 8 and or level 9. And I would say with cheer, I honestly just kind of got lucky. Like I was at a state gymnastics championship in Dallas, Texas, and that's where I got recruited by Monica Aldama from Navarro and Bonte and Franklin from Trinity Valley. And this was before the Netflix show had come out, so I didn't even know who they were. And then after the Netflix show came out, I realized exactly how insane cheer is and how impressive the athletes are that do the sport. And it helped me, it honestly made me gain a lot of respect for the industry, because even in gymnastics they kind of brainwash us into like, if you're gonna cry, go be a cheerleader. Like, so growing up you always think cheer is a lesser sport until you're in it, and then you realize how insane you have to be as an athlete to perform at the level that we do. And that was kind of why I transitioned. I would say was just my time was coming to an end in gymnastics, and this was a new door of opportunity that opened for me. I never expected, to be where I'm at now. I was literally just doing it as a way to pay for college at the time.
Yeah, I can definitely see you found like your sport and you're going to stay here. Um, this is a hypothetical situation, but I guess with the coaching that you do, um, if someone wants to come and try cheerleading for the first time, they might be inspired by you, and they come along. And I'm just relating it to my experience with like, let's say for example, I want to be a black belt in karate.
Yeah.
Like I start doing it, and then I think this is going to take a bit longer to get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people where they kind of like lose interest a bit, and how do you prevent that from happening where they want to stick to it?
I would say you cannot rely on motivation to do well in anything, because motivation is the most inconsistent emotion that we experience as humans. I like to call it a reason why. Like, you have to have a reason why to do what you do every day. Because if you rely strictly on motivation, we're probably going to be in the gym maybe 4 times a week. But that reason why can get you in the gym, 14 times a week. It can get you in there twice a day. You just have to have a strong purpose behind what you do, and that purpose is what drives you into finishing your goals. And I also think finding joy in the journey along the way is one of the most special parts, and that's kind of what keeps me going. It's like you can't put all of your eggs in the bag of success, because success is also not guaranteed. But what you can put your bags in is like the ability to progress and the ability to positively affect the people around you, because at the end of the day, when we're 60, 70, 80, we're no longer athletes anymore. We're going to look back to these days of our life right now, and we're not really even going to remember people, but we're going to remember how we felt at these programs and what they did for our lives at that time period. And I think that that's kind of one of the biggest, important things that we do just as athletes, is trying to make a positive influence on people's lives and just being able to help them reach their potential, because there's no reason why all the candles on the cake can't shine. I'm like a big advocate on, I feel like if you can help other people get to the top, there's no reason that that won't further propel your own personal journey.
Yeah, when you're on stage, you're enjoying it. It
Mhm.
really like that positive energy goes straight into whoever's watching.
Thank you.
But is there anything in life that compares to being on stage cheerleading for you? Is there anything that compares to that buzz that you get?
It's funny you bring this up, because I actually had this conversation the other day with a sports psychologist. I go and meet with like my own sports psychologist prior to big competitions that I care a lot about. And he actually brought up this because I was putting so much pressure on myself before UCA partner stunt this year, because that was actually the only competition I've never won. And it's been 5 years and I lost the last four. So I knew this was my last shot because I was out of eligibility after this year. But I also knew I was fully capable of achieving that goal. I just didn't know like the stepping stones and the mindset and the tools that I needed to have to get me there. And one of the things that Riley was telling me was, he was like, whenever I think back to my college days and the adrenaline and the emotions that I was having, like the only thing now in my adult unathletic life that compares to that were three things. He said getting married, having his first child, and then reaching like a milestone financially, with his business. And he was like, but when I was your age, I mean, I was feeling that feeling on every Friday and Saturday on the field
Yeah,
with
yeah,
thousands of people screaming for me. And he was like, I feel like people kind of take that feeling like for granted because that goes away super fast. And then you look back and it's only a memory. And this has been the last 22 years of my life where I've had that feeling. And that what next kind of always ponders in the back of your head. And I would say when I'm thinking about anything that compares to that, I don't think there will ever be any comparison, to performing by yourself in front of 20,000 people. Like that adrenaline you get and the flux, of dopamine, it really is like a drug. It's addictive. But I also think though that you can find ways that make you feel similar to that, like helping people and influencing masses at one time. Like when you can feel your impact positively, I feel like that's going to be the only thing that really compares. And for me, one thing I realized going into UCA partner stunt is like the reason I do cheer for me, like my selfish reason is because it makes me feel alive. Like there is nothing else that makes me feel the way that I do competing. And I love going out there and just feeling the crowd being invested in my performance and being able to give back to them. And that's kind of what I think helped me do as well as I did this year for UCA is like this is the last time I ever get to feel this way. Like this is the last time I'm ever going to truly feel alive like this. And I just really wanted to give it my all and I feel like you can't really compare what we do to anything else and sometimes that's okay.
Do you think there's other places to go as well? Because we've seen this Pro Cheer League, and it's like this new league. Do you think there's other highs
Yeah.
to come for cheerleading?
Yeah, I actually had a dream about this the other day. I feel like the next big thing would be like performing as background entertainment for even like musicians. Because if you think about it, all these Instagram reels we do, we always put music over it and it always kind of goes well with the music. And I was like, there's no way we can't do this live. Like imagine like you have cheerleaders that are throwing people stunting at concerts and people are just like, what the heck is that? And then they're listening to great music at the same time. I feel like that would be like a really big milestone in the industry next because you have background dancers now and at the before there was live music and people going on tours, you really didn't see dancing except if you were in it yourself. And now
Yeah.
mainstream media, everyone's invested in dancing. And then we had the show Dance Moms that kind of helped with that too. And I feel like cheer is going down the same path. I think that would be the next big thing besides the Olympics, of course, that really hasn't been thought of yet.
Relating it to other sports because I'm a big football fan,
Hmm.
and performing at like Wembley Stadium is like people's dream. It's like the big things. Like
Yes.
my dream to be playing at Wembley. Is there an equivalent to that in cheerleading?
I would say it's being on the U.S. national team and performing at the ESPN Worldwide Sports Center in Orlando, Florida. That's really at this point in our career, that's the pinnacle of our sport. When you're backstage and you just heard Chinese Taipei get off the floor and Canada is lined up behind you, and then they announce, up next is the premier co-ed of the United States of America. It's like just this whole other level of pride that you feel being like a citizen of your country and being able to represent your sport at the highest level. And it's also, I want to say, like the biggest competition like ever too. It's at the ESPN Center. That's about as close as you get to other sports, at the same time. So I would say that as of today, that's widely looked at as the pinnacle of cheerleading. But I could see in the next 2 to 3 years that people completely switch over to pro cheerleading just due to the avenues and opportunities that it's opening up for people.
That's really good to hear because it's kind of come in the middle of like when I first started to do my research on it, like
Yes.
2024. So it's kind of always like growing. There's always different things. You've done a lot of podcasts. There's always different things to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to go for like some quick fire things. What's the biggest misconception, the common misconception of cheerleading?
That it's just a girl sport. I don't think people look at cheer and realize like the manlyhood and the fact that there are very manly jobs, in what we do. It's not they just always think that it's either girls or gays. And there's actually way more straight men on Weber State Cheer than there are people who identify as gay. And I don't think that people in the rest of the world realize just like how much like strength is required for cheer. Like we do need men on our teams. We can't do the jobs we do without those manly men. And like my stunt partner Colin, he was an Olympic weightlifter and he chose to leave that to come and cheer. And then
Yeah.
I would say the ditzy cheerleader stereotype, like, oh, they're stupid, they're just ditzy girls, right? Like we're all student athletes. Like my stunt partner's girlfriend, Jada, she's who spots me. She's like a diagnostic ultrasound technician. I'm a biomedical engineering major. Like we all have very prestigious degrees because like that's why we do what we do is we want to affect the world positively, and whether that's in cheer or in our career, like that's why we have big goals, I would say.
Yeah, I can see the relation between weightlifting and being a base. Is that role?
Hmm.
Yeah, but base and flyers, and yeah. So there's obviously different roles there that require different characteristics, and a place for
Absolutely.
everyone. Would you say?
Yes, absolutely. Um, like growing up in high school, it was actually always really hard for me to be so small. Like I was always getting picked on for it. And now it's like I have a place where I belong. I'm used to being around people my size. I never like walk into a room anymore and feel like the odd one out. It's really funny. And like that really did become my role, is like I'm the one that they throw in the air and at the top of the pyramid. And yeah, like if you're kind of a larger man that's been in Olympic weightlifting your whole life, you're probably not going to be a flyer, but you will be the one throwing the girls.
Yeah. Do I play a judge in the film, The Cheerleader, my first short film.
Hmm.
Um, how is cheerleading judged? And do they take that into consideration of like, do they take different things into consideration, or is it just like a score system? Yeah, just what's the judging like?
It depends what competition you're at, and it's extremely inconsistent. And right now in the industry, that's the biggest problem we're having on why we're not in the Olympics is we don't have a non-subjective scoring system. It's completely based on if the judges just like you that day or not. There's no point system. There's nothing that you can really have a raw score. You don't even know what score you're going to get going into a competition. It literally changes at every single competition every year. So right now, that's like the biggest thing we're lacking in the industry. And I would say I can break down like key differences for you between pro, college, USA, and partner stunt, but even within those are different. UCA versus NCA in college, two completely different scoring formats and two different competitions. So it's very hard to come up with like a generic scoring system, I would say. And I got so frustrated, I created my own, and that's actually why I do Future Flyer Face Off now. And I created my own partner scenting scoring system, just so that way I can kind of give some fairness back to the industry and so transparency, so people know what they're going to get if they perform the routine that they want to perform walking out of the competition. But I would say as a whole, you're based off of overall impression, which is do the judges like you that day? Is your routine presented well? Then you're based on difficulty. Difficulty has no scoring behind it. You can max out at a straight full in college, but then we have boys that are doing full, 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 and then we're still getting the same difficulty score. So
Yeah,
it's very inconsistent and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And the same thing happens with stunting. Weber does hand skis every year. And then if we were to bobble a hand ski, we might get beat by a team that did regular hand to hand pop throughs because you
yeah,
don't really get any additional points for pushing the boundary. So that's honestly why a lot of people don't. And Weber's another big motto we have is just because we can. Like Summer is a very big advocate on doing things just because we can. And I think that the cheer industry, it's about time for us to upgrade our scoring system a little bit.
yeah. Well, speak about your own scoring system for us,
Mhm.
because in the film I kind of linked it with the key qualities, how much strength, optimism, and patience the teams show. So it's a bit like what you're saying, where the judges kind of just choose who they prefer.
Yeah.
Is there any, as speak us through your own scoring system, and has there ever been a point in time where you felt like really wronged by the
Yes,
judges.
absolutely. UCA partner stunt 2024. Yeah, last year. Those were the two times that I personally felt the most affected by the flaws in the scoring system. Um, in UCA partner stunt, I at the time put out the hardest partner stunt routine that had ever been competed or seen in the industry. And I got second place with it. And it was extremely frustrating and really sad. It's really hard when you go into awards, and you feel like you did the best you could and then you don't get the results that you're wanting. But also at the same time, like you can't do things for the purpose of walking away with the trophy because you can win at competitions without leaving with the trophy. And that routine for me and Josh was a personal win, even though we didn't necessarily get to leave with the trophy that day. Weaver State still brought it home though, and that's all that matters at the end of the day is that it was purple. If it was another team, I definitely would have been way more upset. But
Yeah,
luckily, it was still Weber, and that's all that matters. And then for Daytona College Nationals, we, in my opinion, had the most difficult routine that year, and it was extremely clean for the time. And we got beat by another team with a fall. Like it really is just up to the judges that and what they want to see win that day. And like with my partner stunt routine, I got beat by a routine that had less skills than me. So it really is just super subjective and inconsistent. But also at the same time, I had to completely change my mindset. And instead of like asking or getting mad at the judges, I'm like, well, there was room for me to leave the door open. Like I left room for them to not give it to me. So I ensure now at every competition I go to that the door is slammed and there's no way that it's not going to go to me. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's good to hear because compared to other sports where it's like whoever scores the most goals wins, it can allow the underdog to kind of get the better over like the underdog can win, so it can make it probably more
Yeah.
um you don't know what's going to happen kind of thing, maybe. But maybe that's not good
Right.
for performers like you that have rehearsed it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe on an entertainment point of
Yeah.
things, it
I
can
think
be, yeah.
the best changes that could be made is where we can get a book of points, kind of similar to gymnastics and figure skating, like where when you build your routine, you know what each skill is worth and you know exactly what your raw score is going to be if you hit that routine and execute it. I also think we need to get rewarded for bonuses. Gymnastics, you get bonuses for doing harder variations of skills. In cheerleading, that needs to be the same as well. We have to have ways where you get rewarded for pushing the boundaries because that's how sports are respected. But at the same time, we also need to have consistent deductions too for when things aren't clean, when they are falling. Like there isn't a reason for a judge to be able to take 5 points off of one for falling and then zero point 0.5 off of another. Like it
Mm.
needs to be consistent across the board so that way people know exactly what they're going to get. And so it's transparent and it can't just be looked at as like, oh, I guess the judges just didn't like me that day. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
We
yeah.
put so much time all year long and money all year long to go to these competitions and just cross our fingers, like you need to be able to know what you're
Mm.
going to get.
Yeah, definitely. And just to wrap things up, because I know you've got to go because you're super busy.
Yes.
It's a question that we always ask on the podcast: is who would who would play you in a movie of your life? Do you have any actor, actress that you would choose?
I would say Margot Robbie.
That's a good choice.
Yes, I love her. I also think that like her personality, I mean, I obviously don't know her personally, but looking at the characters that she plays that really well. I feel like the
Mm.
witty personality that's kind of like goofy and like super ADHD and all over the place. I feel like she would fit me well. I feel like she is really tall though compared to me, so I don't know how that would be, but I feel like I just like her personality and how she portrays the characters that she gets to perform. And I think that if there were to be like a movie made about me in my life, I think she would be able to play all sides of Hailey D'Lynn.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And favorite film?
Favorite film of all time. That's a hard one. That's a really hard one. I would say give me a genre. That will help me. Give me a genre. Because
Well,
there's so many. That's
yeah,
like a hard answer.
I've already heard your opinions on the cheerleading films like Bring It On and
Hmm.
things that I went and watched to just know what other people were doing.
Yeah.
And obviously that seems quite popular within like cheerleaders, doesn't it? Bring It On. It
Yes.
seems really massive. So maybe just something completely different from
Okay.
sports, like
From sports. Okay.
yeah.
I would say this is like kind of random, but I like Suicide Squad a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Margot Robbie fan.
Yeah, there she is. And I think I might have just thought of that because we were just talking about Margot Robbie, but I like Suicide Squad a lot because I love all the stories behind each character, you know, and how
Yeah,
it shows that they ended up where they're at, and that even though people might look like a villain, they're not necessarily always driven by like bad intentions, you know. And
yeah.
I also like the movie The Boys in the Boat. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It is also kind of a sports based movie,
Mm,
but it's about the story of the Olympic rowing team that won the Olympics. And they actually started out as a team of walk ons that were never destined to go anywhere in the sport. They were the JV representative for the rowing team, and they came from literally no athletic background, but they all had one thing behind them, and it was purpose, you know, and it was
mm,
drive, and it was a reason why. And my first year at Weber, our motto was row the boat. And what that kind of means is like everyone on that rowing boat has their own part. And without one person, the boat can't row. You know, like we all play our part and we all add value to the boat. And then you also have your person that's yelling at the front of the boat, telling you how fast to go, making sure the strokes are even. And that's kind of our coach. And the funny thing about the way the boat is formed is the coach is looking back at the other teams. All the rowers are looking straight ahead and they're not concerned with what's going on around them. And it's kind of that blind trust that I feel like is really in depth and resonates well with cheer. Is like we're looking ahead at the shore. The other teams are looking behind us at where we're going and the standard that we were setting. And that was kind of the big motto that really helped us get our victory my first year at Weber. And that's kind of today since been one of my favorite movies of all time because that movie single handedly, I think, really brought all of us together and helped us realize that like we can trust each other and that we're all important.
Amazing. And just to end on this question, because
Yes.
I know it's really important to you because you have it tattooed on you. And the
Hmm.
phrase is never let anyone steal your joy.
Yes.
And this is something that obviously it stuck with you so much that I think it was like from some like the first advice that you got, and then people kept saying it around you.
Yeah.
It really stuck with you. Do you have a phrase of your own that you would say that could maybe have the same impact on someone else?
I would say proud but never satisfied. That's actually another quote I have on me now. I have two tattoos now, and that's the second one. I got proud but never satisfied once I finally won partner stunt my first time. And for me, like that was the dream of all dreams. That was my goal since I started cheer. But then I knew that once I achieved that, there was still more to come. And I feel like it's always great to be able to look in the mirror and be proud of the person that you're looking at, right? But also at the same time, never be satisfied in life. Like you're going to go as far as you're willing to put your aspirations and goals to. And any dream is possible as long as you have the steps and the plan to execute, right? And I feel like if you can always just stick to that motto, like be proud, but also never be satisfied with anything, you'll never become a complacent person. You'll always be striving to the next goal and the next possible thing you can achieve.
Yeah, it's amazing. That was exactly what I was looking for. And any plans for future tattoos or?
Yeah, I want to get one more. And I want this one to kind of represent just my time in cheer because it's about to come to an end, you know, with college at least. I want to get the chemical compound of adrenaline on my shoulder. And it's like this big. It's going to be a baby one because I only have like quotes on me. I've never had like symbols or like drawings, right? So this will be my first symbol, and it'll be the molecular compound of adrenaline. And then inside of it, it's going to be the mountains for Utah. And then I'm going to probably put LSWT as one of the chemical branches and CCFC as the other chemical branch. Because, you know, those two like families I've been a part of in cheer, those kind of made up like the adrenaline that I've been able to experience the last 5 years. And yeah.
That's amazing. Well,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for your time, and good luck in the Pro Cheer League. I'll
Thank
be
you so
watching.
much.
I'll be following it, and
Thanks for having me.
yeah, thank you, thank you.
Of course. Bye.